The Remarkable Incident of Dr. Lanyon, page 23 of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, second paragraph on page 23. He had his death warrant written legibly on his face. The rosy man had grown pale, his flesh had fallen away, he was visibly balder and older. And yet it was not so much these tokens of a swift physical decay that arrested the lawyer's notice, as a look in the eye and the quality of manner that seemed to testify to some deep-seated terror of the mind. Okay, so we've got Lanyon, who Utterson visits, who's completely changed. Remember the contrast between the description at the beginning of the book, where Lanyon's described as red-faced and very certain of himself, with this man whose rosy flesh now is pale. He's lost a lot of weight, his flesh had fallen away, he was visibly balder and older, he's lost his hair, and but that isn't so much the problem, it's the look in the eye that seemed to suggest he's terrified. Third paragraph. "I've had a shock," he said, "and I shall never recover. It is a question of weeks. Well, life has been pleasant. I liked it. Yes, sir, I used to like it. Sometimes I think if we all knew, we should be more glad to get away." "Jekyll is ill too," observed Utterson. "Have you seen him?" But Lanyon's face changed, and he held up a trembling hand. "I wish to see or hear no more of Dr. Jekyll," he said in a loud, unsteady voice. "I am quite done with that person. I beg you will spare me of any allusion to one who I regard as dead." So we now learn that Lanyon is going to die himself. He's had a good life, but until this shock he's received, and he talks of his old friend Dr. Jekyll as though he's dead too. So the mystery deepens with Lanyon. Page 24 of that chapter, we now have Utterson going and speaking to Jekyll, Jekyll writing, to Utterson, and he writes a letter. And he says in this letter, "If I am the chief of sinners, I am the chief of sufferers also. I could not think that this earth contained a place for sufferings and terrors so unmanning. And you could do but one thing, Utterson, to lighten this destiny, and that is to respect my silence." I think it's very interesting, his self-pity, isn't it? He says, if I'm a chief of sinners, so if I've done something terribly wrong, I'm also someone who's suffered a great deal. So he thinks of himself as a victim, doesn't he? And that is very much the case when we read his side of events later on. And he demands silence from Utterson. This is a running theme of this book, secrecy. Hidden secrets, silence, keeping things away. You've got to think about the use of language here. He says terror's so unmanning, so literally stops you being a man. Why might he be saying that? What's your response to Hyde at this presentation of Hyde at this junction? Hyde or Jekyll at this junction. Utterson was amazed. The dark influence of Hyde had been withdrawn. The doctor returned to his old tasks and amenities, so his old friendships. A week ago, the prospect had smiled with every promise of cheerful and honoured age, and now in a moment, friendship and peace of mind and the whole tenor of his life was wrecked. So great and unprepared a change pointed to madness, but in view of Lanyon's manner and words, there must lie for it some deeper ground. So Utterson's trying to work out, here is someone who seemed quite happy, was at his ease, wasn't he, a few weeks before, but now is everything's totally changed. We then learn in the chapter that Lanyon has taken to his bed and is dead. And then he receives a letter from Lanyon, which proves important, and it's not to be opened until the death or disappearance of Dr. Jekyll. So more sort of incredulous behaviour from Lanyon. Well, why doesn't Utterson open the letter at this point? Well, he's a trustworthy person. This is why Lanyon and Jekyll and various people no doubt turn to Utterson. He's someone to be trusted, isn't he, in a very untrustworthy world. So that's the end of that. That's the kind of more or less that chapter. What do you think? I mean, of Lanyon and Jekyll here. You need to come up with your own responses. Your response, perhaps, when you first read the chapter, and when you didn't know that Jekyll perhaps was Hyde, and then your response when you realise that Jekyll is Hyde, in his self-pity. Again, we have a sense of mystery, don't we? Here, the Stevenson hasn't solved the central kind of problem in the text, and we don't know that Jekyll is Hyde at this point, and we don't know why Lanyon is so shocked, do we? And that he's essentially died of a shock. What could this reason be? So you need to think about this, and bear in mind these crucial points.